Alright guys, TacticalRab here and today, hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. With all the drama with Simp and Cloud9 over the last few days, Simp has now responded to the situation, telling more details on exactly what potentially is happening behind the scenes and also on his next adventures in Call of Duty. He says that from his side, there's no bad blood with the players on that New York Subliners team that are now known as Cloud9, but he reckons from their side, they may well be towards him, given what happened during the season and also what happened with the discussion on their 9 to 9 AM to PM work days, team workouts, that Simp wasn't necessarily so happy with. Very much intrigued your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, just a couple of things on the maps really. People such as JGod ranking the maps in the beta so far, kind of just talking about what might be viable or what might not be viable. Of course, some strike maps as well in play to consider in addition. Even Ghost of Hope says, you know, it's not that long ago, 2018, Black Ops 4 came out, we had Hacienda, we had Seaside, of course this is Arsenal, and then of course Frequency, which was rather popular as well. Now Hacienda is coming back, we're 90% certain that Hacienda is going to be in the game. That's a big map though, right? I mean, compared to the other maps we've got in the beta, like Hacienda would be considered massive, really, compared to what Treyarch have made for this game. So, I don't know if it's going to be Hacienda, but they're going to make it smaller. I hope they don't. I hope they just put it in as is, because Hacienda was fantastic in my opinion. But what about the other maps as well? I mean, I'm not going to lie, if we brought back Arsenal or Frequency or Seaside, all maps from Black Ops 4, and I think a couple of these at least were in the beta, maybe Seaside was for sure, that would potentially be better than what we have today. So some questions on that definitely. Let's talk about the Halo stuff going on as well, because next month, is it next month? I think it is the Halo World Championship, and before that we have Halo Salt Lake City this weekend in preparation for that. We've talked a fair bit about Formal, haven't we, over the last couple of months, because there's been rumours. He was talking to Nadeshot about the potential to come back here for Black Ops 6. The game looks like it's going to be one of the better games in the CDL era, and Formal could be tempted for a return if the opportunity aligns. And he's actually playing some of his best stuff right now. And we know Formal tends to turn up towards the end of the year, but this was a 3-0 defeat actually in group play to complexity. Formal carried the team, but it wasn't quite enough. And yesterday though, having got through to the winners bracket anyway, OpTic did do enough to secure their ticket for the World Championship by making the run that they did. They actually beat SSG, who has kind of been their nemesis for some time, and they beat FaZe to make it all the way through. So Scump's in the replies, hashtag, well not hashtag, but you know, H4F, horny for me, if you guys aren't aware of that. And this was the overall scoreboard from that series. Dead Zone, formerly known as Penguin, of course, on the team, but Formal, highest KD, loads of damage, and you know, 1.24 KD for Formal to get over the line and beat FaZe to get up to the winners finals. This is what the bracket currently looks like going into today. It might already be underway, but it's definitely going to conclude late night because they always do these Halo events. And OpTic Gaming going to play Shopify Rebellion, and then of course the grand finals will come on later depending on how things go, right? But you know, they guarantee top 3. SSG and FaZe, one of the, you know, the final couple of teams in the losers bracket as well. So pretty fascinating to set up, especially this event and also the World Championship coming up soon as well. And whatever happens there, clearly Formal probably feels himself, and it feels like from the outside is in pretty much prime form. And like, if Formal's still in prime form against this level of competition that there is in Halo right now, then you gotta wonder whether a return to COD, given that he thinks that he's done with this Halo Infinite game, really is potentially on the cards. Not sure Formal's played that much of the beta yet. I know that there was a lot of frustration from the likes of Afra. I think even aBeZy tweeted this out as well on, you know, you pay a lot of money for the game, then you get banned because other players just report you because they're delusional. So, you know, I've been in CDL for a while. It's easy to say I'm not cheating, but for others, no. So, you know, lots of players still dealing with this. They get reported because they're too good, then they get banned. And it's like, well, that's probably not the best report system that I've ever seen. Let's talk though about this whole Sib situation. This is pretty funny as well. I'm not going to lie here from Kenny. Of course, there were rumors last season, not even rumors really, because it never felt like it was that close. But Sib and Pred joining OpTic was thrown around, wasn't it, right? The whole idea of Dashy, Sib, Pred and Shotzzy was talked about quite a lot. In the end, that didn't happen. Sib went to the Subliners kind of unexpectedly because people didn't really expect Priestahh to get dropped. But this I thought was pretty funny here. So as Kenny says, I forgot my coach and my barber had the same name. Was confused why my barber hadn't responded yet, right? So here he is talking to Damon. Now, as we can see, it's Damon, control a goat. So pretty obviously that's Coach Damon, right? And obviously there were other messages that he's blanked out here talking with his coach about. So I'm kind of surprised how he managed to send this message without realizing that it actually wasn't head coach David, but rather, well, it wasn't his barber David, it was rather his head coach David. And he says, yo, can you cut me to on a Sunday? And Karma then responds a day later and it's like, no, you don't want that. And this I thought was a banger here from OpTic Denny. So, you know, this guy's obviously been a bit of hibernation after the season has ended, but we've got a couple of good ones here. And, you know, this is another one, right? Here's what David actually meant. So, pretty clean, actually really kind of cool. But with all of this going on with various teams, we're pretty sure that OpTic, you know, they're not going to do anything with their roster. They won the World Championship. They were, you know, the winners of the season. Therefore, as a result, they also won another event as well. It's not like that World Championship win was a fluke. And at the end of the season, you know, they played FaZe. They lost to FaZe again, but had they beaten FaZe, then, you know, they probably win the event, right? Because that's how it's been, and that's how the top of the league tends to go. But Sib, after what's happened with Cloud9, especially at the end of the season, decides to turn on the stream and talk about a fair few things. So I went through every single clip that I could find that was taken from his stream last night while I was asleep largely. So there's a couple of things I can share here. Certainly the one of the bad blood was pretty interesting when he was asked the question, do you have any bad blood with those guys? And he said, no, not from my side, but from their side it's definitely possible, based on either what was happening behind the scenes or what happened very recently, of course, with the drama about, you know, Sib talking about the culture. They don't understand, you know, they did this to win champs and they don't actually know how to win, you know, the whole 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. stuff. And then he kind of backtracked and said, well, all right, they know what they're doing. It was only like 1 or 2 days a week we were doing that, and most of the time it was fine. And, you know, maybe just try to backtrack a little bit and backpedal so that whatever team picks him up next doesn't think that he's going to be an absolute nightmare to work with, which I don't think he will. But, of course, everyone's got, you know, things to learn and things to improve on. But there's a few other things that I'll mention as well, and then a nice clip here on Babylon.
You seem the type to be into trading? Nah, not a gambling man. Do you join teams for money or skill? I join teams to win. And for money as well. Of course, you gotta live, you know? You gotta pay rent and shit. So. If Snipe is allowed this year, would you be willing to do the Snipe in SD? Always. I think whatever team I'm on. Something like that. Right, says any bad blood between NY boys? Not from me, but maybe from them, maybe. But not for myself though.
So these were some of the other things said that Biggest Boss 4567 puts on the Reddit in, things that I couldn't find clips of these. So we'll have to take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt, but I imagine that a lot of this does sound correct from what we currently understand, and also from what kind of I understand from what's been happening on that team behind the scenes, shall we say. But you know, what he said was he was shocked that he got dropped initially, but he said that someone needed to get dropped because the practice wasn't good. This is kind of interesting just because I feel, I don't know, to my understanding, Sib kind of knew, especially at the World Cup, that things weren't really working out in their team and that something would have to give. And that's kind of what he says. But I guess he was expecting someone else to get dropped because he played so well. I guess that was his thinking. But instead, that's not what they decided to do. He also didn't get told why he got dropped and was genuinely surprised at the fact. There were even rumors that he only found out after he saw it on CDL Intel rather than, you know, those guys telling them himself, which actually aligns a little bit with, you guys remember what Shotzzy had to say a few days ago now, where Shotzzy basically said there's some pros in the league that they won't be honest with the player on why they're dropping them or even when they're dropping them, and maybe that was a little bit of a dig at somebody and what was happening behind the scenes at the time. So that's interesting stuff, and like he himself, as we saw in the clip, said, no bad blood from my side, but you know, nonetheless, if this and this has happened before, I swear, like I don't know if Priestahh went through the same thing, but I feel like he did. And then you guys went with Priestahh, they were like, oh well, Priestahh, we can't give him the same amount of money, so you know, we have to drop the funds down for the salaries, and then like Priestahh wants this amount and we want to pay this amount, so we just got to drop him, right? And there was all that BS. In my opinion, it was BS, and maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, that whole like, oh, Priesthah's salary's too expensive, so we've got to get rid of him thing, I don't buy any of that. I think they were just trying to find an excuse to drop him, to be honest. So, you know, and this time they've dropped Simp and apparently not even told him really. So yeah, definitely raises questions on exactly how they manage those team situations in that camp. Then he said that OpTic is his dream org to play for. No real surprise, but also Dallas is his hometown, so that would make sense. Is it possible in the future? I mean, yeah, I think it's possible. Him and Pred, if Pred stays for the long haul, that could be doable for sure. I don't know if I expect it, just because if there's somebody to replace either Dashy or Kenny over the coming years, you know, Scrappy's going to be a top target, and I feel like Scrappy will say yes to that offer if it's there. But, you know, at the end of the year, Sib was arguably the best AR, and he says himself that he feels like he was potentially, you know, the best AR in the league at the end of the season. But then he talks a little bit about Rostermania, right? And he says that definitely 100 Thieves and Ultra, those are teams that he would gladly join. So it's interesting with Ultra because who knows what their team's going to be, right? Next season. As it stands, you might expect them to keep CleanX, maybe keep Insight as well. Like, Insight, to be fair, has been told, look, you can explore options, but if Insight doesn't get any better offers, then maybe staying on Toronto makes the most sense for him. Sib could come in, and that would be a pretty nice team to start working with. Thieves, of course, as well, you've got to go for, and you'd imagine that both of those teams are considering Sib. If neither of those happen, for whatever reason, then he does say that he's been in talks with other teams. He can't disclose those teams, but of course, he's not going to sign for Boston, like, yet. He's going to wait to see what happens with Thieves and with Ultra, and maybe somewhere else, but unlikely. And then if those things fall through, then, of course, he'll have to consider what his best option is from there, right? And then he also gives some gas to Sender and ReeaL, says they're the best coaching staff he's ever had. Just a couple of days after saying that their methods weren't necessarily the best. But, look, it is what it is. Sib's an interesting character as always. I'm just intrigued to your perspective really on where you expect Sib to pop up here next, right? Because as I say, I think either Thieves or potentially Ultra makes the most sense. I wouldn't be really surprised at all if Cloud9 can sweeten the deal to some degree with Ultra by sending Sib the other way. But then you've got to, you know, wonder what the buyout should be each various ways. And also if you're Toronto, you're thinking, oh, we can make all this money by bringing in, you know, by selling Scrap effectively 180k or whatever we saw earlier on today. But then if, you know, Cloud9 are like, well, make it like 80 or make it 100 and we'll give you Sib as well, you know, that's still a good deal, but equally they've still got to pay Sib then a salary, and maybe that money from scrap sale isn't really going as far as they would like it to in terms of funding the budget for their team over the next season or so. So maybe there's something in that. Thieves might be there to pick up the pieces. Certainly rumours, given that Nastie has taken Thieves out of his bio, that might well exactly be what is going on. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.
I literally destroyed them because my reaction time is way too fast for them. That's why they're not shooting back at me, because they can't react as fast as me. That's the problem. Bro, when I play COD, I make it look easy. It looks like it's easy, but it's not. It's just because I'm naturally gifted. You know what I mean?
Bro, why do I hear a mental health patient in my ear? Pure fucking delusion. What am I hearing?
Alright, well.
Alright. Good luck with Teach, bro.
I'm down 600, so.
Yeah, but you might be down 800 by the end of the night. As long as Teach.
Taco, stop being brain dead.
Hey, Porter, what's wrong with
I
you,
said
man?
stop being brain dead and
bro, Teach is fucking horrible.
Bro, you're...
Tommy, I'm out. Peace.
Bro, where are you going?